Now, the reason why that's really important is because our brains really do operate well out of consistent repetition. You need something to be told to you over and over and over again in order to get it. You need to be something told to you over and over and over again in order to get it. You need to be told something over and over and over again in order to get it, in order to understand it. And oftentimes I would get mad at myself because I thought I didn't know the love of God. I remember I was talking to a friend one time, we were driving in the car, and I felt like I was confused. I was struggling with all these things and my purpose. It wasn't related to porn. And I remember telling him, I was like, I guess I just don't know the love of God well enough. I clearly don't know the gospel well enough if these are all the things that I'm struggling with.
You like this, you like being daddy's arms with microphones now. You like being a worker. You're made for the camera. Both my boys are.
Hey, this video you are about to watch is a part of a series where I show you how to quit porn the right way. So do yourself a favor, binge on all of this content, all the videos that you possibly can, because who knows, maybe if the value and the trust is built together over this journey, you'll want to jump into a community that I call Fit for Family. Or maybe you think these videos suck, and that's also fair too. But nonetheless, there's only one way for us to find out. So enough of me, let's get back to serving you and let's get back to the video. One thing we've all heard said is to work smarter and not harder. Now, obviously, it's easier said than done. I find like sometimes I work way harder on things. You know, I go around the sun to meet the moon, that kind of idea. I'm like, this could have been done way, way easier. But I also really believe in a God and a relationship with him where things that you and I do don't have to just require so much effort to grow and change and become different, that it can actually happen very effortlessly. And one way that I do that is something that I call mirror work, where essentially what I want you to do, and this is an exercise, a bit of a challenge, is to grab a marker, you know, probably not permanent Sharpie because you're going to be writing on your mirror. You'll want it to come off at some point. Whether you want to grab it from your nephew, your kid, some like coloring box from your church, where you just get a marker or just go to the dollar store and grab one if you don't have one already. And what I want you to do is I want you to write a few beliefs on your mirror that feel like truth that you are really needing to hear right now that's hard to receive. It could be as simple as saying, I am enough. God says I am worthy. God is for me, not against me. It could be something else about you. It's like, I am a porn-free man. You know, being porn-free is my inheritance. Quitting porn and like doing the work is easier than I fear it is. Whatever those truths are that you're really needing to hear, that if you had it settled, your life would be really different. Now, what I don't need you to do is wake up every single day and chant it and motivate yourself by telling it to yourself over and over again. But the truth is that our brains, given to us by God, operate so well with subliminal messaging. Just simple messaging over and over and over again that we get, even though we might not be saying it or consciously seeing it. And the reason why this is important is because we have so many messages in our mind of not being worthy, not being enough, not being loved, not being cherished, not being pursued, like there's no hope for me. And in order to actually work against it, we're going to have to put in a little bit of effort. So the reason why I call this mirror work is because when you go to the mirror every single day, whether you go to the bathroom, whether you go brush your teeth, whether you shower, whether you get dressed, or however that looks, you're going to be able to see the truth about who God says you are in the mirror. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to do nothing about it. You can just leave it there, have it be a great springboard for conversation with anyone who comes into your home to see it, and own that truth of who you say you are, who God says you are, and who you know yourself to be. And the reason why I think this is important is because there's exercises that I'll have you do, or things or challenges in this program that require your effort. They require a lot of energy. I wouldn't say a lot, but just enough that you start changing your patterns. And so giving it a value for this, because sometimes we can do something like, hey, well, I did it, but I don't know the heart behind why. And that really sucks because then it just feels religious or routine or mundane and we're disconnected from the true experience. So the last thing that I want is for you to do this, because I'm just trying to think of stuff for us to do to help you along your journey. The reason why I really want you to do this is because the way the subconscious mind works is by repetition. The way our brains designed by God works is through having something repeated over and over and over again. Watch this. I'm going to say a sentence a couple of times and I want you to catch on. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you is what you need to know about God is that he loves you. What you need to know about God is that he loves you. What you need to know about God is that he loves you. What you need to know about God is that he hates you. See, you bet you weren't thinking about that. The last one where I said God hates you, you weren't thinking that because the 3 times prior, you were conditioned to believe that I was going to say God loves you. Now, this is true, just messing around with the idea of hate, but what I wanted it to do was shift your state, shift your system, and get you to understand that I threw something that was a bit of a curveball compared to what you may have thought I was saying. Now, the reason why that's really important is because our brains really do operate well out of consistent repetition. You need something to be told to you over and over and over again in order to get it. You need to be something told to you over and over and over again in order to get it. You need to be told something over and over and over again in order to get it, in order to understand it. And oftentimes I would get mad at myself because I thought I didn't know the love of God. I remember I was talking to a friend one time, we were driving in the car, and I felt like I was confused. I was struggling with all these things and my purpose. It wasn't related to porn. And I remember telling him, I was like, I guess I just don't know the love of God well enough. I clearly don't know the gospel well enough if these are all the things that I'm struggling with. And my friend, very pastoral, well, he actually was a pastor, very caring, great guy. And he just said to me, he's like, I don't think that you don't know the gospel well enough. He's like, I actually believe that you do. You know the gospel very well. And he's like, here's what I see your problem is. You don't know it consistently enough. You forget it. You need to be reminded. You don't need to be taught what the gospel is. You need to be reminded. And most men, we don't need to be taught. We need to be reminded. And so once you know your identity, it just needs to be at the forefront constantly, because there is a war being waged on your mind, on my mind, on our development and what we're giving our attention to. I think I shared it already, but we get 3,000 marketing messages a day that we see on our devices, on our phone, as we're driving in the car, as we're at school, work, wherever. 3,000 messages a day of people telling us that this is what we need to have in order to live and be okay and do all right. You go back, dude, 100 years, 200 years, nobody lived that way. Nobody had so much programming of lack of contentment as much as we do now. We are literally being programmed every single day to be discontent with life. There is a war being waged on our mind. And so when we do this exercise, it's a defiance. It's a revolt. It's an obedience to the throne of heaven, where we actually put our marker on our mirror. We do this mirror work and we write out the truth of who we know to be, who we know we are. Not so, again, we have to chant it every single day, but so that multiple times a day when we see it, when we go into our mirror, and we look and we're brushing our teeth, you just seeing it, not even being aware, but just seeing it in the background there is going to be very, very powerful. It's going to suggest and give auto-suggestion into your subconscious mind so that it becomes almost more prominent and activated, where it becomes automatic that you'll begin to think those thoughts within time. It's going to need time. It's going to need repetition. And that's why the repetition isn't you speaking it or saying it. It's the amount of times that you go to the bathroom. I've had people do this with screensavers on their phone. It's totally up to you if you want to do that as well. I think that could be really, really awesome, where you just have a screensaver that has the truth of who God says you are. God is for me. I once made a screensaver that was almost like a text message thread between me and God, where literally the contact I made it was God. And I think I just did it between like 2 phones that I had on iMessage. And so I just would text myself something, and then God would say something back. And I'd say, really? And then he'd affirm that statement of identity that he gave me. And so every time I went to my phone, it was like this playful way of me bridging connection with God, where I'd be like, this is what he thinks about me, that he loves me, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and so forth. So do that mirror work. Write those 3 things or 4 or 5 things, whatever you want, on your mirror, so as you see it, it can see you, it can get into your mind, it can start transforming you, and you don't really have to do much work. I'm a fan of working smarter, not harder, when we can, and this is definitely an exercise that has been super powerful for a lot of people, even just in the act of writing in it. And maybe you do that for a whole week, and then 2 weeks later, you really believe that truth. You know what you can do? You can rewrite new beliefs just after that. So maybe 2 weeks in, you want to upgrade it, update it. You can absolutely do that. I've seen people keep this up for over a year, where they just keep upgrading their beliefs constantly. And it's like the previous ones got embedded into their heart, and they're like, okay, check. And then it's like, I'm becoming the man that can pursue a woman, or whatever those things are in relationship to being able to maybe want marriage or relationship, and being like, hey, if I become Mr. Right, I will find Mrs. Right. If I find a healthy version of me, I will end up finding and attracting a healthy woman out there. And so they started to do that work and started to see it become more and more and more in their life, which is, I think, also an amazing thing. So whether you want to do it in the background of your phone, but definitely the mirror work, and then go from there. Lots of love, and I'll catch you in the next one. Hey, real quick, if you like that video that you just saw, or if you want to see even better videos than this in a series that I made called Annihilate Porn to help guys or girls like you quit porn, you can subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't forget any alerts, comment, like, all that jazz, and more importantly, check out the next video that's going to take you even further on the journey from where you are to where you want to be. I love you tons. I'll catch you in the next one.